It's Thursday, and I'm crooked. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, we're crooked. All right, let's fix that. All right, we good? We good? Sorry, we got some technical difficulties here because I didn't double check myself. Good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the show. My name is Stuart Davis. I'm a flawed man of God. I'm here to talk to you about Jesus. But who am I? I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or go to any special or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do, like I said, talk about Jesus, give you kind of a glimpse through the eyes of what I consider myself to be your average Christian, and somebody you might run into if you decide to go to church. Are you considering looking towards Jesus as a way of life? Are you looking for something more out of your existence than just what you do on this planet during your lifetime? I am here to tell you, if you are interested, curious, looking, you are on the right path. Jesus is waiting for you. God wants you to accept him into your life. And that's part of the reason why I started this show. The main reason I started this show is to give you that influence. Come in here and just kind of see what it's all about. A lot of times people get the impression, and sometimes it's correct if you're in the wrong place, that Christianity and going to church is about a lot of just rules and judgments and just very dry reading from books. It's not. It's not. There's way more to it than that. The Bible is rich in narrative. The rules actually pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and there's just a lot. Most of what the Bible is a story of redemption in many different facets, and an example of God showing his love towards us time after time after time. Sometimes we get punished. It's just the way it goes. But it's very much a look into why God does things the way that he does. So if you're interested, come along, join the group, like and subscribe to the channel, and share it with anybody that you think might enjoy this. If you're interested in commenting, if you're catching it live, I do respond to comments in the chat as they come up, as I get a chance to pause what I'm saying and respond to what you say. If you don't catch it live, leave a comment. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, any of those places. Flawed Man of God. It's very easy, very simple to reach, and I'll respond to you. And like I said, I'm somebody that you might find or run into when you walk into a church for the first time. If you're in the right spot, you're looking for somebody, and you're looking for people who are open, welcoming, but also at the same time humble in their own flaws and understanding that church is a place for broken people who continually sin, trying to do better, and not only do better for themselves, but do better for their family and their fellow man and siblings in Christ. It's a community, right? It's all about being a community and trying to grow that community through discipleship, through being a good example, through many facets. We want as many people to get into heaven as possible. And part of that is on us to help them and help each other. So that said, I'm going to put a notice out real quick on things. So I think that'll be funny. I'm doing something I think is funny and clever. Let's see. Doing something a little bit different tonight. I was browsing and goofing off a little bit on Twitter today, and somebody was talking about how great the King James version of the Bible and the King James version translation of the Bible is, to me, it's just I don't like it. Like I respect it, like, and I know people really, really like it, and it's something that a lot of people that's their go-to translation. But for me, it's just kind of it just feels pretentious. I know it's probably not, but that's how it comes across to me. And so, but because there are a great many people who appreciate the King James translation, and part of the reason because what we're talking about today, we've talked about it so many times, and we've read through it in the New International Version many times. Take that down. We've read through the New International Version discussing this many times before Passover. We've talked about the festival, some set festivals, and what was the other thing this week? Oh, laws and everything. We've done so much of it in New International. Hey, look, it'll be nice to do it in the King James Version. And I'm going to say it in what I would think that the King James Version needs to be read, with the voice needs to be read, with somebody, I don't know. I'll just do it with the voice that I feel that the King James should be written as. So with that said, we're going to get into it. Now, this is the last broadcast of the week, and I want you all to end it on a high note. So we're going to do things a little bit fun tonight. So here we go. We're going to move from New International Version to, where is it? KJV, King Julio. All right. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to try to get out of it what I can, but I'm going to read it, like I said, the way that I think that the King James ought to be read, and in the style it ought to be read. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. In the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Lord thy God of the flock and the herd in the place which the Lord shall choose to place his name there. I don't even know if that's even part British or whatever. I just get that, that kind of uppity voice. So it's talking about observing Passover, right? We've talked about this before. Passover is important. It's a great example of the beginning of God fulfilling a promise that he made to Abraham at the end. So obviously Moses going through Deuteronomy in the speech that he's giving, towards the Israelites at the time, this is going to come up. He's talking about the whole thing, right? But now we're talking more about the practice and why it's important, what you should do. Thou shalt eat no unleavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. For thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt, all the days of thy life. It does have a weight to it. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thy coasts 7 days, neither shall there anything of the flesh which thou sacrificed. This is ridiculous. Sacrifice the first day at even remain all night until morning. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover with any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. But at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. Okay, so again, we're going through what you're supposed to be doing through Passover. It's important to remember to do these things, and so do it, right? That's what Moses is saying. Look, get this stuff right. Practice, and if you're fastidious in doing this, it will help you be fastidious in doing other things. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, but at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at evening, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt turn in the morning and go into thy tents. Very much comes across like that point in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And they're reading from the Book of Armaments for the Holy Hand Grenade. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work therein. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks until unto the Lord thy God with a tribute of a freewill offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto the Lord thy God, according as the Lord thy God hath blessed thee. Here we go. More practicing. I'm still trying to look again. I grew up, still do the same thing. Read the New International Bible. I'm not used to reading and translating what goes on in the King James Bible. I know everybody's like, "Oh, this is a really good translation." Why? You spend more time trying to figure out what is being said in the actual text before you're trying to decipher what goes on in the actual writing. But other people are used to it. That's just me. This is me joking. I'm having some fun with this. Because like I said, you get used to a translation, you start reading it. That's when you can start pulling stuff out. And like I said, I got a lot of respect for folks who do this because I mean, look, it's kind of funny me reading it, but at some point, people talk like this. I hope they don't anymore. Maybe we would be better off if we did. Let's see. Blessed be. And thou shalt rejoice before the Lord thy God, thou and thy son, thou, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite that is within thy gates, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are among you, in the place which the Lord thy God hath chosen to place his name there. So, not just a party for you. Nope. It's a party for everybody. A party for you, party your family. It's a festival for your family, for your employees, for your priests, for the people, the refugees, for the orphans, for the widows, for all of them. This is the place. And look, but you're hosting it kind of. You're responsible for bringing the stuff, right? We're all part of like people talk about Baptists and their potlucks. It's not just the Baptists who do that. We all do it, at least at all the churches I have. Of course, I'm non-denominational, so most people just assume that I'm Baptist anyway. But small churches doing their potlucks, you get different people from the church, and you invite other people or visitors to that thing. That's what this is kind of like, only obviously on a more sacred scale and a much larger scale. So, where did I leave? And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondsman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days. After that, thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are within thy gates. 7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto the Lord thy God, in the place which the Lord shall choose, because the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase, and in all the works of thine hands. Therefore thou shalt surely rejoice. There's a whole lot of there, thou shouts doing the work that only one word will suffice, right? There's a lot of extra words in there. I love it. I love reading it though. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. They shall not appear before the Lord empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee throughout thy tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. Thou shalt not wrest judgment, thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift, for a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous. That which is altogether just shalt thou follow, and thou mayest live and inherit the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of the Lord thy God, which thou shalt make thee. Neither shalt thou set thee up any images. I'm sorry, let me go back. Neither shalt thou set thee up any image which the Lord thy God hateth. I think they're talking about idols there. Hang on. Let me go back. I'm not learned. I told you guys, I'm a layman. I like things simple. Do not set up any wooden share poles beside the altar you build to the Lord your God, and do not erect a sacred stone, for these your Lord God hates. Isn't that? Why don't you say it that way? Again, I get it. That's how people used to talk. I'm assuming it was written that way. King James, apparently, this is what he liked to read. That's cool. But I'm just a simple man, right? There's an authorized King James version. Wonder what the difference is. You need to talk to somebody about the different translations and really just understanding why there are so many different ones. Because all these ones I'm pulling up here, they're all just they're all in English, right? So it's not like, oh no, this is the English translation, or this is the Spanish translation, or this is the French translation. But it's all in English, right? So, but again, this is what we're covering. We're covering feasts. We're covering remembrances. God's again. I said this at the beginning. If you're thinking, a lot of people, when they get the first impression of church, they get their first impression of the Bible, they think the Bible's boring, the Bible's dry, there's nothing in there that's really all that interesting. There's rules and judgment and some prophecy of the end times, right? Way more to it than that. Way more to it than that. And we've seen that just from the first five books. We're not even done with that. We're not even done with the Pentateuch. We're just doing the first 5 books. And look, we've already got so much that we've covered. There's so many great things to discuss. And so much of it happens at the beginning, too. I love it. But here it is. I mean, this is what Deuteronomy is. It's Moses basically recapping all this, because it's good to remind people. That's part of the reason why we have these parties. It's kind of like we think about the 4th of July. We think about Memorial Day. We think about Veterans Day. We think about national holidays like that. Now, how do we view it? Do we view them as times to remember why that we're celebrating, or do we just enjoy it? I mean, most people don't get Veterans Day off, but Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, those are your holidays marking basically the beginning, ending, and middle of the summer. And a lot of people just say, look, it's time for fireworks and barbecuing for 4th of July. It's time to wave a flag around and yell America a bunch and drink beer and have a good time and do things with explosives that you wouldn't do any other time of the year sober. And then on the Memorial Day and Labor Day, it's a 3-day weekend, right? So, I mean, do you remember why we're doing it? What we're doing? Why they're national holidays? Memorial Day is a big one. Near and dear to my heart. Anyway, so, what are we talking about? I'm going to go back. We're going to finish this up in King James. We're not going to read it in the NIV. Okay, so that's not. Okay. I wanted to see if I was missing a... They don't have chapter designators back here. They don't have the headers. They don't. It's such a different experience. Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish or any ill favoredness. That is an abomination to the Lord thy God. What world was that? Sorry, I thought something fell into my drink. If there be found among you within any of thy gates which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God, in transgressing his covenant, and hath gone and served other gods, worshipped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded. Stop worshiping other people. And it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the thing certain that such abomination is wrought in Israel. Then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shalt stone them with stones till they die. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of 1 witness he shall not be put to death. The hands of the witness shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So thou shalt put the evil away from among you. If there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shalt thou arise and get thee up into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. Okay. So this is basically talking about judgments, what to do with the judges. We've talked about this before, but again, we have judges set forth. We have punishments. We have rules of procedure. There's due process. This, that, and the other. You need to have more than one witness saying you did something wicked before they put you to death. Probably a good thing. But and also things are. He's also allowing for things to be too difficult for us to call. All right, there's a matter that we can't figure out. Judge is looking at him. It's kind of a toss-up, or it seems like it's just a difficult decision in order to make sure that justice is appropriately doled out. God, we're going to take it up with God. We'll take it up with God. We do have an avenue. We've got the Ark of the Covenant. We have that vehicle for bringing these issues to God. Then where was I at? Okay, yeah. So if it's too tough, give it to God, and God's going to figure it out. And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall shew thee the sentence of judgment. And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall shew thee. And thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee. So basically, God's going to tell you what to do. You're going to do it. So, look, this is coming up to God. You've got to abide by what's going on, by what he says. Not to sound gambling or whatever, but you kind of, you're going all in, right? Everybody's all in. All the cards are on the table. God's going to tell you what needs to be done. According to the sentence of the law, which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment, which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence, which they shall shew thee, to the right hand, nor to the left. And the man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die. And thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. And all the people shall hear and fear and do more presumptuously. When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shalt stay, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. I need to back up on this one. Wait, what verse is that? 14. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you and have to take possession of it and settled in it, and you say, let us set a king over us like all the nations. Like, oh, okay. This is an interesting part, and I don't know that this is here. I don't know if he's prophesying here or just because Samuel is very important. It's important to see Samuel, but he's basically predicting what's going to happen. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you and have taken possession of the land and settled in it, and you say, let us set a king over us like all the nations around us. That is exactly what happens in Samuel. Be sure to appoint over you a king the Lord your God chooses. He must be from among your fellow Israelites. Do not place a foreigner over you, one who is not an Israelite. The king, moreover, must not acquire great numbers of horses for himself or make the people return to Egypt to get more of them, for the Lord has told you, you are not to go back that way again. He must not take many wives, or his heart will be led astray. He must not accumulate large amounts of silver and gold. Oh, no! Oh, no! He's talking about literally all of them. Oh, no. I'm going to go back and read all this, but we're going to finish it like this for first. When he takes the throne of his kingdom, he is, because this is important, because this is the part, that one passage in Samuel, I think it's 1 Samuel 8, is very, it's one that sticks to me, because I think he's talking about things. God doesn't want them to have a king, but he knows that they're going to demand one. So he's kind of talking through Moses. This is not something we've talked about before. This is not something that's been discussed in, I'm just really, really paranoid the bug flew into my drink while I was. We've talked about some stuff in Leviticus and Numbers, all right? We haven't talked about a king ruling over them. And that's one of the things that's discussed in 1 Samuel. God says, look, I don't want you to have a king. I'm your king, right? But what ends up happening is that they demand it. And so God says, look, you're not going to like it. This is going to be why you don't like it, et cetera, et cetera. But if we're going to do it, you're going to do things my way. Enter Saul. Saul is not a good king. Saul is corrupted. Saul gives himself into sin. He lets his screw ups really consume him, and he just gives up. He gives up trying to be the good guy. Enter David. David is a good dude. David does a lot of cool stuff. David does a lot of good deeds. David still screws up. What do we say? He must not take many wives, or his heart will be led astray. He must not accumulate large amounts of silver and gold. He does it, and his son Solomon really does it. Does it both ways. We talk about King Solomon's temple. We talk about all the wives and concubines that Solomon has. Look, women be a problem to these folks, to these kings. And then after that, Israel doesn't have any good kings after that. They're all messed up. And then you've got Jezebel. But he's talking about it. He's talking about this. He's warning you. He knows what's going to happen. This happens exactly as he says. Predictable, really, when you're thinking about your human nature, that this is going to happen. God knows it. God knows what's in our hearts. God knows that these Israelites are going to screw up. We know it because we're in the future. We know what's happened, and we've got the Bible here to tell us. But man, this has got to be frustrating. When he takes the throne of his kingdom, he is to write for himself on a scroll a copy of this law, taken from that of the Levitical priest. It is to be with him, and he is to read it all the days of his life, so that he may learn to revere the Lord, his God, and follow carefully all the words of this law and these decrees, not consider himself better than his fellow Israelites, and turn from the law to the right or to the left. Then he and his descendants will reign a long time over his kingdom in Israel. Do the right thing. This whole passage is really for the king. How to select a king and what the king needs to do and how the king needs to act. I think we're going to be revisiting that a little bit. But that's very interesting. Never caught that part before. I never caught that passage in the Bible before. It really is prophetic what he's talking about there. Because like I said, Moses doesn't know who Saul is. Moses doesn't know who David and Solomon are. He doesn't know who Ahab and all these other folks are. He doesn't know that Israel's going to split into two, Israel and Judah. So here we go. Let's see. Where was the part? Yeah. Thou shalt in any wise thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. Fame, riches, women, avoid it. And horses. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, and to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them. That his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. How will that turn out? I don't know. Israel is so good. There's obviously a happily ever after this, because the king's going to be good. He's got these commandments ahead of him. He's got these guidelines from God. All he's got to do is look at it. He's going to read it every day, and he's going to be like, oh, yeah, that's right. You need to not give in to fame, not give in to women, not give in to fortunes, not give in to and lust for power. I just need to focus on making sure the Levitical laws and the covenant with God are the Levitical laws are followed, the feasts are observed, and God, and most importantly, God's covenant is honored. Seems easy. It's easy. Look, we only have 2 books, 3 books if you count Deuteronomy, where we're really talking about rules, right? What could happen? It can't be that difficult. He's given us this paradise. Of course, we're going to do exactly everything that he says, because he's given us this, and we don't want to lose it, right? Right? I got this. Got this. I believe in you, Israel. I believe in you. This is awful. Not the Bible, but just knowing what happens. Why did God create us the way that he did? That is one thing I can't wait to ask him. At that point, I'm sure I will be ready to hear that answer. It might frustrate me as much as it seems to frustrate him, because God is frustrated with us on a regular basis for the way we act, and we continue to act. Or maybe it was just not so much that he created this way, but just the act of giving us free will. I am not a Calvinist. I do not believe in predestination or any of that stuff. We're a bunch of wild people out here with our own thoughts, our own minds. We all seek him out. There's always something telling us to seek him out. Choice is, are we going to listen to that, or are we going to fully ignore it? Give in to hedonism, or just accept that nothing. So there is nothing out there, and we just die and turn into nothing. Or we follow demons like Muhammad. Muhammad followed Allah. Or do we follow weird imaginary things like the pagans worship trees? You don't know. Look, there's only one way to God. There's only one way into heaven. That's through Jesus. He's very clear about it. He's very real. Very much did the things that he did. Jewish people want to deny it, and Jewish people got their opinions. Jewish people are wrong. Muslims admit that he was there. Muslims admit that he did it. Muslims worship another God. They're wrong. Don't listen to them. They're not wrong. They're not worshiping the same God. They think they are, but again, one thing I've determined, they have been fooled into following what I consider Satan. My take on it certainly seems to line up that way. A lot of deceit. There's a lot of weirdness to it. So smacks of Satan involvement. Now, with that said, that is the the scripture readings that we have done tonight. I hope you have enjoyed doing it in King James. I actually had a lot of fun doing it. I thought that was awesome. I hardly could tell what I was reading. It's very difficult to read through. Um, like I said, I guess it's for the folks who really love it and live by it. You learn to translate. It's like watching the guy in the Matrix movie, in the first Matrix movie, when he's looking at the screen. He's like, yeah, it looks like gunk now, but once you've been in it a while, then you know exactly what's going on. It's kind of like that going through King James. I mean, I guess that's kind of how it is. And then if you get used to reading the King James Bible, you can look down on everybody else and be like, huh, look at this pleb. He's reading the Niv. Oh, what is that? The American version? Ah, get medieval. King James or get out. That's what they say. NIV Master Race. That's me. Guys, look, regardless of any of the traditional translations that you use, you still end up getting to the same point. That is that God loves you. God has expectations for you. God has rules, and Jesus is the key to your salvation. Again, Bible, it's a story of redemption over and over and over again. People screwing up, people making it right, people doing the right thing, people doing the wrong thing, people trying to make it up. Some people redeeming themselves in the end, some people not. Don't be Judas hanging himself over a few pieces of silver because he gave up Christ to the Romans. Don't be him. Be King David, who shows humility and acceptance when he's punished for the things that he did to get Bathsheba, his wife, and the killing of a friend of his. So, with that said, this is the last broadcast for the week. Friday's open. Have a good weekend, everybody. Be good. Hopefully, we won't rain. I can get some soccer in with my boy, and we can have a great weekend ahead of us. But you be safe and go to church. Go to church, guys. If you haven't, this is me encouraging you. Go to church. Go find a church. Doesn't mean you're going to find the right one. But look, it's Sunday morning. What else are you going to do? What's going to be? Dews on the ground. You don't want to be cutting the grass. Look, and it's not. Look, don't do anything on Sunday morning other than go to church. Try to find that place to go if you haven't found a good one yet. They're out there. I belong to one. I've been to one, and I'm not saying that just because I belong to it. I've been part of bad churches. Bad churches. A lot of times they feel bad in the back of your mind. For me, I always thought the church I didn't like didn't like. But I had to go there. My parents were taking me there. It is what it is. So be good. Go to church. Be safe. God loves you. Good night, and God bless.